Because, when you're a refugee, your status as a refugee might be revoked anytime. You cannot sleep in peace without fearing, for the next day, like, oh my God, what's going to happen next,
Okay, so to start off, maybe you can explain for those who are not quite familiar, what is the current situation for Malaysian mothers with children born overseas? And can you tell us a bit more about the Malaysian campaign for equal citizenship?
Okay, so the Malaysian campaign for equal citizenship rights is a campaign that, so right now, Malaysian women, we do not have equal citizenship rights in Malaysia. So what we mean by this is that Malaysian women who are married to non-Malaysian men and they give birth overseas, they cannot automatically confer their citizenship to their children. But if the roles were reversed, so if a Malaysian man who is married to a non-Malaysian woman has kids born overseas, he can confer his citizenship to his children by operation of law, which is via Article 14(1)(b). But for mothers, because they cannot confer citizenship automatically, right? So what they have to do is that they have to apply for citizenship for their kids via Article 15(2), which is an inconsistent, arbitrary process that is filled with delays, unexplained rejections, and also there's no guarantee. So according to recent statistics, right, Family Frontiers received these statistics. Out of 3,407 applications for this citizenship, only 19 of them have been approved. Yeah. And if we were to look at it on each application, right, so for each application, for it to be processed and for it to be accepted, it takes 600 years. Around 600 years. Yeah, for one application under 15(2). Yeah.
Who lives 600 years? I want to know.
Gandalf.
I know, right? So because of that, mothers have to wait for so long, and as they are waiting, they are being faced with so much bureaucratic challenges. It makes it hard for them to enter public school. It makes it hard for them to access government hospitals, government healthcare. And because of that, they are also much more prone to domestic violence and abuse because they cannot leave their countries, they cannot leave their families that are their relationships that's abusive overseas to come back here because their children won't have status. And it makes things much harder for them. So realizing this, what Family Frontiers did is we filed a case against the government in 2020 alongside 6 impacted mothers. We want to challenge these provisions which have been in place since like 60 years ago. It's a really long, archaic law. And 9 September last year, we won the case at the KL High Court. But unfortunately, only 72 hours after winning in the High Court, the government appealed against this decision. And yeah, so they appealed against the decision, and we've had 2 appeal hearings so far this year. So what this means is that ever since 9 September 2021, women have the same right to confer citizenship to their overseas born children on the same basis as men. And this year, in the beginning of this year, 6 of the plaintiff mothers managed to get their citizenship documents, but the other non-plaintiff mothers, they have not been able to get them. So, the High Court order is supposed to encompass citizenship for everyone, but only the 6 mothers have gotten it. And, because of the government's appeal, recently we found out the decision. We got the decision on the 5th of August, and we lost in the Court of Appeal. It's a 2-to-1 majority decision that allowed the government's appeal. So now all these mothers that have supposedly, have equal citizenship rights, they've lost it once again. And whoever who submitted their documents under Article 14(1)(b), the same article for men, and we call these registration documents Borang D. So all these Borang Ds that they've submitted have been frozen until further notice.
Oh, no. Wow. We understand that you may have helped a lot of families, a lot of people, a lot of broken families. Is there one story in particular that affected you personally or that you will forever remember and that you can share with us? I mean, because we need to know. Judging from the years that people have to wait already, that's a shocker. But what are the stories like?
It's really sad. So how do I say this? So a lot of the mothers, they are victims of abuse. Are victims of family separation. They divorce and they have, they divorce overseas. And because, when you're overseas, you're alone and you won't have anyone there. So you would want to come back home. But when you're coming back home, you're coming to a country that doesn't want you, So there's a lot of stories like that. But one story that has personally impacted me the most is I spoke to this mother recently. Her name is Mimi. She's a Malaysian mother with with 2 children. So her first daughter is Malaysian, but her second daughter is non-Malaysian. And on top of that, she's a refugee because the mother married a Palestinian, and the father is a refugee, and because the second daughter wasn't born in Malaysia, so the daughter has to follow the father's citizenship, and the father doesn't have citizenship, so he's a refugee, so she's also a refugee. So they are currently based in Saudi Arabia now. The daughter was born in Jeddah, and it's one thing being a non-citizen in this country, and it's another thing being a refugee, because when you're a refugee, your status as a refugee might be revoked anytime. You cannot sleep in peace without fearing, for the next day, like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? What will happen when my child loses her citizenship? Because the thing is, right, when you hold a refugee status, so there's certain travel documents that she got from Egypt. So her father fled to Egypt after leaving Palestine. So he's an Egyptian refugee, and so the daughter's also an Egyptian refugee. So when you have refugee travel documents, it's not easy for you to travel to different countries because of the refugee status. They tend to not allow approve your visa, including Malaysia. So it's very difficult to come here. And even if she manages to come here, she would have to the only kind of visa that she can take is a short-term social visit pass, which is only for 30 days. And if she wants to extend, she has to apply for a special pass. That one also, under the government's discretion. So if the government doesn't want to allow her, so if the immigration doesn't want to allow her to continue, then she can't continue. If, ideally speaking, she can apply for the special pass twice. So she can extend her visit per special pass is 30 days. So maximum she can stay here is 90 days. Then after that, what happens? So she would have to go back to Jeddah, And also, in Saudi Arabia, she's on a residence pass in Saudi Arabia, and the only thing that is keeping them there in Saudi Arabia is the fact that both parents are working there. So if both the parents lose their job, they have to leave Saudi Arabia, and because of their refugee status, they technically can't go anywhere else. So they're basically stranded, nowhere to go. And now Mimi, the mother, she's pregnant. And she wants to come back to Malaysia next year. So she's giving birth next year. So she wants to come back to Malaysia next year when she's 8 months. And she plans to stay here for 3 months, ideally, if she manages to get her child's visa. And in order to come back here, right, she told me everything, all the calculations, how much it will cost. It will cost up to 30 to 50K.
Oh no.
In Ringgit. Yeah, just to come back here. And she wants to come back here, obviously, so that she can give birth here, and so her third child will have citizenship. So she doesn't have to go through the same thing. And the thing is, if there was no such law like this, that only allowed fathers to confer, if she could confer citizenship from overseas itself, she wouldn't have to go through all of this, And when she's heavily pregnant, 8 months, she has to come here, risking her life. And on top of that, spend a lot of money, and she may also risk her job because she's not a citizen in Saudi Arabia. She's on work visa, so her livelihood depends on this. And it's really tough, to think of this, to comprehend all of this every day. And she fears that, every single day she fears that what will happen if she as a mother, she dies. Then she wouldn't be able to fight for her child's citizenship anymore, and her child will remain a refugee forever.
Yeah.
Then what happens, So yeah, this is probably the saddest one that I've gotten so far. I mean, all of them are sad, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're doing a great job.
I mean, bless you. You're like an angel.